Good afternoon, everybody. This is Frankie Abbruzzino with the Scoop National News, Scoop News, the Uncensored Report, all kinds of names that I go by. Depends on if I'm doing radio or my YouTube show. I'm back. I had to take another hiatus. I had some issues with the company that actually brings in money, and I had to go deal with those issues. And I think I'm back now. What I think I'm going to do is a concept where I don't have a set time, because I think that's the thing that's killed me the most, is having a set time with my busy schedule and saying, okay, I got to get this out by 11. So now I'm just going to say, okay, every day I'm going to drop it. I think my the link goes to one of my pages. If not, I'm not really going to advertise it at first. I'm going to advertise it down the road a little bit more. Just going to try to cover a lot of the national issues out there that aren't covered in the major media. I mean, you got Channel 7 and everything else out there. I might hit some national issues that are on major media. It all depends, and I'll do it. I will do it in my review. The other thing I'll try to cover is my the articles that I might be writing. I decided to step it up a little bit with writing articles. I actually put out, I think, 3 yesterday, which will cover some of those. First, though, I wanted to take a quick look at the headlines, so let's go ahead and pop over to those. Do keep in mind that this is, let me get back to this screen, this is a one-man operation. Not only do I do all the social media myself, the website myself, I think over 300,000 fans now. I do the show myself, so you'll see I'm fidgeting around a lot and I'm doing different things. When I go to break, because I'll have to pull up some other stuff, what I generally do for my shows is I get the documentation to support it with the facts, because I'm old, I'm almost 50, I forget a lot of stuff. So I'll get these documents and I'll reflect upon them and as I'm going through there, just to try to remember some of the issues that I wanted to touch on. And so I'll play that the beginning stuff that you saw, and you'll hear that. It'll be maybe 10 seconds, maybe a minute, maybe an hour, and then I'll come back on and I'll start discussing it. It won't be an hour. The show will last, I don't know, as long as I feel like talking, and then it ends. I'll try doing it daily being Monday through Friday. All right, so let's go ahead and get you back to that split screen and, just covering some of the national news headlines that are out there. This is a story I just put out about the Veteran National ID card. We may cover that today. I just posted it before coming on here. Cucumber salmonella poisoning is getting worse, and actually where I live here in Florida, we're part of that. The police issue, this is driving me crazy with groups like Black Lives Matter. They had a guy that does a show on Talk Blog or Blog Talk. I think I have a station on there. And he basically was coming out and he said, look, not only do we need to kill all white people and all white people that are cops, look, we need to kill all cops that are either black or white. No discretion there. Just go after all of them. And so then you get idiots like this lady. And, let's see if I can play the video real quick. She is essentially doing, I think they said 51. Here it is, 51 in a 20-mile-per-hour school zone. And we'll try to get the volume up high enough so that you guys can hear it. And essentially, the cop walks up. To me, he seemed rather nice. He handled it very professionally. And this is taking a while because I'm on this recorder. So he went up and he said, hey, look, you're speeding, you're doing 30 miles over in a school zone. And she essentially said, you know what, this is why everybody wants to come out and kill you guys. This is why the people are out there wanting to get rid of you. So let's see if we could take a quick listen to it.
You are being cited for speeding. Sample, explain what your options are. Drive safe.
No wonder you people get shot. You're absolute assholes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a nice
Drive
day.
safe.
Amazing. So you see stuff like that, and I support police. A lot of my local officers will tell you that. I don't like when they exceed their power, and many of my local chief here will tell you that, because I've correct them a couple times where I felt that officers have exceeded their power, and I'm not a huge fan of that. But this is unnecessary. You don't want to go around in a society where they think it's okay to sue police officers. Now, I do think there's more problematic issues. I think that officers spend too much time on the minutest little issues versus going out and taking care of the real stuff. The crack problem, the heroin problem that we have here. I know of a few issues here in town which I'm not I can't really disclose. I was asked not to. Well, I can't get into it, but there's some bigger issues out there. And what amazes me is you got someone like, we got this guy here, the tennis bully. What is his name? Kurt or something like that. And this guy is going around, some couple of elderly people are feeling that they're being bullied by them. It's like, look, don't run the government to take care of your problem. Get out there and take care of yourself. Take care of it yourself. Instead, they have now, the VPD sends out, I don't know if they're still doing it, I don't think they are, but at one point they were sending out officers to check on the situation, monitor the situation. And that's the problem. Having officers pull over people for doing 5 miles over the speed limit. Having officers out there because you got a broken tail light. Because you didn't use your turn signal. Stop focusing on that. Focus on the bigger issues out there. The crack dealers. The pimpers out there. All that's good stuff that we see happening on a regular basis. The people that are robbing and stealing. And the officers do a good job on that. I think they get focused too much on these little things. Now, it's not all them. In this case, it was the politicians. The city council was demanding that they go out there and do that. I even sent out an email where the mayor, our local mayor, said, hey, look, guys, you got to go out there and he advised the guy, I think his name's Marco, the soccer fields. There was some people that weren't paying attention to the signs. They were doing stuff they weren't supposed to. So the mayor in this email says, why don't you call 911 the next time it happens? Really? Call 911 to have an officer go out there because some soccer mom isn't following the signs. That's ridiculous. Texas woman killed by an alleged drunk driver. She helped a turtle cross the road. So we got some stories out there. This is an excellent story by Michael Schneider. I might cover it tomorrow about the economy and the market meltdown. The market was up on Tuesday about 400 points. It was down yesterday over 200 points. I think just before coming on the air it was up. This is a huge issue. This is an amazing issue. You got Saudi Arabia. And like this article says, and this is on the Scoop National News, Saudi Arabia has 100,000 air-conditioned tents that can house 3 million refugees. But guess what? They're mostly empty. I forget the exact number. I don't think Saudi Arabia has taken any in. The other countries have taken in a few. Jordan's really stepped up, and they've taken in a lot of refugees. But honestly, we have 160,000 refugees claiming to be from Syria. I have great significant doubts based upon a lot of the reports out there that they're all from Syria. You're seeing some issues where a lot of them are from Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa, and all over the place. But let's go back to Syria. Why is it that we, Europe, ourselves, I think the United States committed to taking another 5,000 yesterday, and I'm going to touch on this issue more, and I even wrote about it, the migration and concerns with extremist Islam, which we'll cover in a bit. But why aren't these Middle Eastern countries stepping up to the plate and handling this? Now, if you follow major media, you probably won't know this. If you follow me and when I used to do my show, you probably know this. But Saudi Arabia, the United States, and Israel are primarily responsible for a lot of the chaos you see now in Syria. They have gone in and been funding the rebels. The ISIS. Oh, yes, I know. What, ISIS? Yes, ISIS. Fars, all the different El-Nusra, all the different rebellious groups in Syria to try to overthrow Assad because Assad wasn't playing games. He wasn't playing ball. Now, on the other side, you have Iran and Russia. And I think it was reported yesterday that Russia's actually got tanks on the ground. They got a couple military personnel on the ground in Syria. They're opening up their base there, or they're moving support to a base there. I forget what the specifics were. It's almost like a proxy war, one would say. But if Saudi Arabia is over there and causing a lot of the issues that are bringing about these refugees, why aren't they stepping up and taking these refugees? 100,000 air-conditioned tents. But but they're not doing it. You're not seeing it. Instead, you got Europe, you got Merkel and France and all these other people saying, oh, let's take in 160,000 refugees. People are coming down and hammering Hungary because Hungary's like, hey, look, we don't want them here. We don't have the money to support them here. I sent a video. I also, a lot of people may or may not know this, I administer a page in Italy, San Giovanni in Florida. And, I'd like to stay abreast of a lot of stuff that's happening there. I still have sisters and family there, and I love going there. They've always had a problem with the migrants from Italy. Well, it's gotten really bad. Italy and Greece have just been getting hammered from a lot of the migrants coming over from Libya and all over there. And, let's just focus on Libya. Ever since the United States began to get involved in nation building in Libya, which I think I wrote an article about the other day, Libya has gone from what Gaddafi had. Now, Gaddafi wasn't the best guy. He had major issues. Before his demise of the last, 6 years, whatever, he was trying to turn it around. He apologized for 9/11. He was getting rid of his chemical stockpile. He was trying to spread his wealth around Africa. He still was a nut job. Unfortunately, there's a lot of nut jobs over these countries, but the nut jobs are doing a better job or securing the country better than what some of these radicals are doing. Just look at Mubarak. The United States was responsible for getting rid of him. Who came in? The Muslim Brotherhood. Who would you rather have, Mubarak or the Muslim Brotherhood? Would you rather have Gaddafi right now? Or the 5 different Islamic extremist groups that are basically warring with each other over in Libya right now for territory? Which would you rather have? So you get all the refugees all flowing over. A lot of them are dying at sea. Italy's doing their best to cope with it. But I gotta tell you something. Italy is broke. They're saying Italy's the next Greece. We know the situation in Greece. Italy and Greece are getting inundated with these people. They don't have the money. And it was funny, I played a video, I posted this video, and it was of a bunch of refugees, and they were complaining that the 8 people had to sleep in a rather large tent with, 8 beds, 7 beds, who knows how many beds. They're getting meals. And the area looked pretty clean. It looked like a nice environment. But they were upset. They think that they should have been able to come across the border, go out, basically be set up with a nice house, medical, food, the whole welfare component. Let me get back to my screen because I'm not really covering the way I should have there. I was supposed to go down that whole storyline. And they're complaining about it. And it's funny, I sent this to my sister and over to Italy, and they were amazed. I don't think they've seen this. And what amazes them is the amount, over the years, it's gotten pretty bad there. Especially down in Clobber, where my family is. People don't have jobs, they don't have money, they're seeing more prostitution, more drugs, more homeless. People living in the streets, they can barely get by. Down there's no real labor laws. My sister was working, I think, she was putting in, she was working for a candidate or doing something for the election process once, and they only were paying her €2 a day. She would work from 8 in the morning till 10 at night. €2 a day. So conditions aren't the best. They've been getting worse and worse and worse, and it's really gotten bad over the last couple of years. Yet you're going to have these migrants, politically correct word for immigrants, illegal, because they're not going through the normal process. And trust me, I know the normal process because I went and lived in Italy. You go, you get a visa, you got to get your Codice Fiscale. I can't even speak Italian now. And there's a process in place. So, but the main gripe is, look, we're helping all these people out, and they're going to sit there and complain. They're going to sit there and complain. And we actually saw that a lot. I see that a lot here because I used to do a ton. For about 5 years, I ran this local Facebook I have. Started out with hardly anything. Now there's like over 26,000 people. Well, I used to help a lot of people. But a lot of people just kept hammering me. It wasn't enough. I remember my wife once went all out and helped like 8 families for Christmas. They didn't. I remember this one family was living out of a hotel. They had nothing. Yet when she went over there and said, hey, look, here's some meals, here's some food, we're here to help you, it wasn't enough. They wanted more. Entitlement, more. And she's like, it just got ridiculous that they weren't content that we were there trying to help them. They just wanted more, and more. Now, I did run into an issue yesterday. I found my scoop pages, and it's something that it concerns me a lot. It's this whole zero tolerance, and I think I had a radio show once on my radio show. I know I had a radio show, and I talked about zero tolerance once and some of my concerns, but I was never really directly impacted by it until recently. And I broke it down in my story, and I basically talked about how my daughter went and broke up a fight. And the administration just said, automatically called her in, based everything on a video. They said, you're suspended, and they questioned her. Now, they say question, I say interrogate. The due process was gone. And they put words in her mouth, and I remember during the meeting, they said, your daughter said that she aggressively broke up the fight. And I looked at my daughter. Love my daughter to death, but she is not one that would say, I aggressively broke up the fight. She would not have, there's no way with her. So I looked and I said, that young lady right there said she aggressively broke up the fight. And they go, well, she didn't say that. And my whole point, and then I'll get to my point in a second. Then I was at a football game talking to an old friend of 35 years. And she asked what happened. I was telling her. And she said, you know what? One of my good friends is a teacher. And she left. And she's told me, don't ever let your kids speak or sign or write anything when they're with the administrators, because they have a way of embellishing what is said. And you don't know if it's accurate. And everybody's going to go with what they're saying. They're not going to believe that your daughter, when she sits there and says, no, Mom, I didn't say that. Which happened to me. She embellished what my daughter was saying. What else did she embellish? You're nervous. You got a 15. She just turned 15. She doesn't know better. She's scared. She's nervous. She was crying. They make her sign a document. It was some form, filled out form. She didn't read it. She didn't understand it. And then she did write down what happened. She said, these two girls were fighting. I broke it up. And then nobody really paid attention to that. They didn't investigate it further. They said, zero tolerance, you're suspended. Decision was made before I was even there. So, obviously I go down. I'm upset. I'm my usual vocal self. I'm like, whoa, you can't do this. Next thing I know, they call in SRO, school resource officer, police officer. I'm like, am I some kind of threat? The girl outside the office heard me being my usual loud self. So she took it upon herself to call in the SRO. And I'm like, so, basically, you're allowed to sit here and take away my daughter's due process. You're allowed to sit here and say, this is how we're going to do it. Forget about any level of fairness. And we cannot get upset. We cannot raise our voice. If we do, you're going to call in the police. Now, I later learned that they do that a lot because a lot of parents lose it and stuff. And maybe I'm a narcissist and I took it personally because I'm well known in my community, and it just amazed me. I'm actually one of the people. The Scoop is responsible, I think, for getting the extra SRO there. We pushed it. I brought it to the attention of a lot of people, and we were pretty instrumental in that whole process. So I'm all for them being there. Anyways, it gets down to the bottom line is that they follow this zero tolerance. They don't let the kids, they didn't investigate it. I was talking to some parents that were there, and they're like, your daughter wasn't part of it. We were watching it. She was off to the side. She jumped in to separate them and pull them apart. Now, they said, well, your daughter pulled the hair. Well, she's never broken up a fight. She doesn't know what to do. You got two girls going crazy pulling hair, bringing a third girl that's trying to separate it, and she pulls the hair, and she didn't even want to get involved. There was another guy there. And originally, the administrator said to me, your daughter, even if she just broke up the fight, she's getting suspended because she touched the other girl. And I said, wait a second. Tanner, the boy, there was a Tanner there, a kid there. He urged my daughter to break it up. After him asking 3 times, she finally went in there and broke it up. he also went in. You can see him in the video separating them. He's touching them, yet he got no suspension. He got nothing. So I call bull on that. So then, they didn't do any investigation. They didn't ask her. They didn't ask the people who were there. Was Frankie part of this fight or was she breaking it up? They didn't ask the parents there. Hey, did you guys see this? Was Frankie breaking it up? It took me going to the school board, sending off a ton of emails, doing a ton of FOIA requests, which, if you're watching the school board, they never respond. And that's my next research thing on why government entities don't feel they need to respond to FOIA requests. And they know me. The guy knows me. He knows who I am. And he's not responding. And, what really concerns me, too, is what happens to these poor kids, these parents, who don't have the platform I have. I get emails all the time where they're saying, hey, this is happening, but I just don't have enough proof to go in there. But when it happens to me, I know it. I can say, these are my own words. This is what happened. I'm very anal. I documented everything. And, which I think helped getting my daughter off there. I finally had to have the school board come down because at one point I had to walk out on the principal. Because I went in there and I'm like, why is this officer here? And I turned to her and I said, am I a threat? The officer said, well, with that attitude, we're not going to get anywhere. And I said, well, then I'm leaving. And I walked out. I refused to be treated as a thug. I refused to have this principal talk to me, the parent, the taxpayer that's paying his salary, in a condescending manner. Ends up, we talked about it. We shook hands. Jack and I got along after that. Steve did a great job with the school board. He's like, this is the first time I had to come down in 6 years. And because I was upset. And they knew I had some very valid points. And it wasn't just that she was suspended. They were saying, and some people have commented on this and emailed me about it, they were saying that 5-day suspension kicked off volleyball, the high school volleyball team, and possible 2-year expulsion from the school. And we're going to leave you with that. And we'll get back to you 5 days later, whenever the meeting was. But as a parent, you shouldn't get upset over that. No. So this is all about that whole that zero tolerance thing. And it came up again yesterday because now the local union, I don't know if they're the state of Florida or what. I think their territory goes beyond the county, and they're telling teachers don't get involved now. And they're doing this because coincidentally, I sent an email off to the city council or the school board, and I said, hey, look, I have an excellent contact in the school board. She gives me some solid information. Never been wrong all these years. She said, hey, look, somebody got in trouble, a teacher, for breaking up a fight, and blah, blah, blah. And so I sent it. I asked for confirmation. I asked, basically, can you expand upon this? He never did. He blew me off again. Surprise, surprise. And so then you're left wondering. They're telling me, okay, here's the issue. You got 2 kids, your daughter here, and someone comes in aggressively. Your daughter's like, hey, I don't want to fight. Let's stop this. Well, the girl says, forget you. Boom, punches her. Boom, boom, boom. You got a big fight. They say that the girl should just lay there and get the heck beat out of her, run for an administrator, or hope an administrator or teacher comes to help. Which goes against what I've always thought. Someone came up and threw a punch at me. They were going down in my old days. I try not to fight anymore. But I would never sit there and just say, oh, please, don't hit me. And I don't want my daughters doing that. If someone comes up, try to say, hey, look, I don't want to fight. This is a little ridiculous. That's fine. But if someone throws a punch at you, you better defend yourself. If you get suspended for 5 days, I'll deal with it. I'm not about this zero tolerance. I think it's absurd that a school thinks it's okay, thinks that they should have the authority to suspend someone because they sat there and got pummeled, especially with the new rules. They're telling teachers, don't break up these fights. You may force being fired. You may have to go through legal issues, litigation with this. So don't get near it. So you got the union or whatever this organization is that I guess they adhere to whatever they put out, telling them, don't touch them. You got the school board sending a message by disciplining teachers for breaking up a fight. You got the school coming down on students for breaking up the fight. Who's going to pick up the damn fight? It's ridiculous. I'm dumbfounded by all this. I'm amazed by all of this. And this all goes with that whole zero tolerance policy. And I hope to God that some schools pay attention to what I put out. Last check, I put it out late last night, around 8 o'clock, I think, somewhere in there. And I had about I think close to 30,000 reach or something like that. I had way over 2,000 people who read it. So I'm hoping it gets some attention. To get 2,000 people to read your story is pretty good. Over 2,000, and it's still got legs. It'll go on for a couple days. Generally, a lot of these times, these Facebookers will just click on it, get a quick summary, and then comment without reading the full story, which also drives me crazy. Don't get me going on that. Next, we're going to talk about national IDs. And something I wanted to do, and I was going to do it, but I didn't have, I couldn't find my cable, is Periscope it in. I do a lot of Periscoping locally for the games, and whenever I can now, I just started doing a lot more of it. And it's basically live. And I was going to set it up here, and you could get behind the scenes Periscope, and you can ask me questions on there, because questions will pop up on there. You can also ask me questions on there because it's live. All right. I would say you can ask me on Twitter or something, but the problem is this: I'm recording it because I can't have a set time. So Periscope, my Periscope ID is my Twitter ID, which is the Scoop ALT News. Look me up. You'll get a notification on Twitter of when I'm going live, and I'll basically do a behind-the-scenes live shot here, and you can ask me questions. I would have a call-in. I've tried to call in, but A, it's very difficult when you're a one-man operation not making a dime, and B, you get a lot of trolls that call in, and it was just a mess. So now when I do interviews, I call the individuals and set up the interview via Skype. So I like doing Skype. You can see the person, you can see me as we communicate. But you'll be able to ask questions on Periscope. It'll be a live shot. All right, so let's go ahead. The other thing I wanted to cover is just this national ID. I put this out, and it's primarily surrounding. I started thinking about the whole vet ID, and our local guy Buchanan, congressman, put this issue out there. He got it passed. I don't know how many millions of dollars it's going to cost. It's going to cost a lot, and I'm sure a lot of veterans will buy into it. It's not really needed, and I'll tell you why, because I think it was my local state senator, Dieter, that helped get a legislation push where basically you can get a color code or something on your driver's license indicating you're a vet. Or you can just carry around a copy of your DD-214, just throw it in your wall, boom, you're set. I am a veteran of the Persian War, the Navy, 89 to 93. I don't think I've ever taken advantage of any benefits for veterans. I cannot say I ever have. My DD-214 is locked up. When you get out of the Navy, they tell you, do not lose this. Whatever you do, it's the only copy you're getting. So I've never used it. Not one benefit for it. Not sure why I don't, but I know a lot of veterans do. So they got this new ID. And the conspiratorial guy in me is always concerned about ID tracking systems. Do I want this ID? And will it be used to track me? Will they sit there and say, okay, yeah, let's scan your card, or however they're going to do it, and they find out I'm a Dunkin' Donut all the time, now my Obama rates are going up. Is it far-fetched? I don't think so. And in my article, which you're welcome to read, I just posted on the Scoop National News, I talk a little bit about how Social Security, that was just used to do basically out there for your taxes and stuff, but it's expanded now. People use it to check your credit. And I go a lot. I don't want to ruin the whole article. So the article is online. It concerns mostly my issues that I have. Let me see if I can pull you guys up into it. I got it right here. It concerns mostly my issues with the national ID, how the national ID is going to be used to track you. It's like an internal domestic passport, and will they be doing the same thing essentially for the veteran card? Do we really need another ID? And it touches on that stuff real quick. It is pinned at the top of the Scoop national news. So check that out by all means. Okay, we're going to take a quick break so I can set up for the next thing. I forgot what I was going to talk about next. I don't remember. Breaking news. Judge rules that Freddie Gray trial to be held in Baltimore. Baltimore. That just broke on Twitter on RT America. Okay, so give me a second and we'll be right back. Okay, and we are back, folks. We'll see if there's any other breaking news out there as we're talking. I'm still amazed with that whole $6.4 million settlement in the Freddie Gray thing. Breaking news, I just saw the first... Here's some breaking news by a local reporter, Shelby Webb. Breaking news, I just saw my first love bug of the season. It splattered all over my windshield. Breaking news by Shelby Webb of the Sarasota Herald-Tribune. You gotta love that. It made me laugh, though. That's a good one. All right. I wanted to talk a little bit about the whole migration, the politically correct word for immigration. And it was an article I wrote, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and I talked about my concern over extremism. And what happened is, on my sites, I post all the time about all these migrants that are coming across the border, 160,000, and they're jumping, putting themselves in front of trains, they're being tripped by Hungarian reporters and all that stuff. And I started thinking, wait a second, is this an ultimate plan? Is this something that perhaps an extremist Islamic group is putting in action just to spread extremism throughout the countries? And it's not that far-fetched. And that's basically how the Muslims, if you look back in history, how they conquered from the Atlantic over to China. The whole concept of immigration was started with the Prophet Muhammad. And basically the city of Medina, they all immigrated there. It was a slow, gradual thing where they went there. And then they started slowly but surely incorporating a lot of their Muslim thoughts and ideologies into the laws there, until finally it became Islam, victorious Islam throughout the city. And is that what's happening? France, a lot of the European countries, they've been taking these Muslims, these refugees, in not only for labor, which is one thing I mentioned, but also to basically become a multicultural country, to show their acceptance. And with that, they've accepted a lot of these extremists. And if you were to go back and just look at some of the communications that come out, it should have been expected that the extremists, the groups like ISIS, Al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, are going to utilize this to spread their message, their ideology. Even ISIS, they threatened to send 500,000 migrants through Europe as a form of psychological weapon. They told everyone they were going to do this, folks. And suddenly you have, and it's funny, coincidentally, when I finished my article, I was still editing it, and I took a break, and I went over and was looking at something from Paul Watson at InfoWards, and he was covering basically the same thing. And I'm like, oh, wow. So I took some of the pictures that he had on there, and let me see if I can get you guys on a double screen here. These are some of the pictures that he had on there, and these are individuals that are known members of extremist groups, Al-Nusra and other groups, that were found within the refugee system trying to migrate over to Europe. Here's another group, and I don't think you can get the picture that big. And so it's something that's being done, but our politicians don't want to accept that. It's happening here in the United States. We're taking in a ton of refugees from Somalia and Syria. How are they being vetted? A lot of people, the government will sit there and say, oh, we're vetting them. But how? Many government individuals from the government come out and say, there is no way to vet them. I don't know how these people are saying we're vetting them. There's no way. Do you believe in Sharia law? No. I'm a Christian. Okay, you're in. You're vetted. Is that how they're doing it? Is it a simple process? And so this should be a concern for everybody. Are we going to be the next Medina? Are we going to find ISIS? Well, I guarantee you ISIS is already here on our front door. I guarantee you extremist Muslims have already come over here. You're not hearing about them. You're not going to see them, but that's the way that they're. That's the way it's supposed to be, folks. You're not going to know about it until it's too late. Because what happens is a lot of these, and I'm not talking about your basic Muslim. I'm talking about a lot of these extremists. Most Muslims are good people. You know, there's extreme, and there are extremists in every group. There's extremist Catholics, extremist Protestants, extremist Jews. It's not something that's just limited to the Muslims. The problem is the Muslim extremists are taking it to a whole new level that's brought a lot of attention to how tyrannical they are. And it's all done through this migration. So, you know, Europe's over there. They're struggling to deal with this thing that's been engulfing their borders. And it's not something that's new. It didn't just materialize out of nowhere. Voila, they're here. This has been going on for a while. In the West, United States, Europe, we created this crisis. We did it when we went in and we invaded Afghanistan. Look over the Taliban and Al-Qaeda issues. When we went into Iraq. All part of and these are two countries that we've been trying to nation build. And guess what? How unsuccessful has that nation building been? Iraq is a mess. Afghanistan is a mess. You know, I was talking to someone, a buddy of mine here, and we were at the volleyball game. We were just sitting there talking. And he said, you know what it is nation building can be a good thing. And he had a valid point. And he pointed to Germany after World War II. Nation building. That's what we did. We went in there and built up the nation again. But we stayed there. We were there for the long haul. We had patience. We worked with them to build a democracy. We stayed there. Same with Japan. We stayed there. It's taken years. It's not something that's going to happen in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years. It takes a lot of work, a lot of patience, a lot of effort. But what happened in Afghanistan? We left. We pulled out. What happened in Iraq? We left. We pulled out. And so basically what you're seeing is, you know, we don't have the political strength to stay there longer. A lot of Americans don't want to stay there longer. They don't want to see the headlines where people are being killed. They don't want to see how we're spending all this money over their nation building. I get that. I personally am not an advocate of doing it, the nation building. It's costing us taxpayers a ton of money. Money we could use here on the home front. It's, you know, the whole Afghanistan-Iraq thing has just gotten us hated more than anything. Look, you know, a good example is Ukraine. And a lot of you guys may not realize this. If you were watching my show when I was taping, you would. The Ukraine, and my buddy didn't know this the other day, but I played the tapes and everything. It's all documented. It's all out there. You can research any of this. We have, I think she's an assistant ambassador, Nolan. She was overheard on a phone conversation where they were basically planning out the new puppet government they wanted in place in Ukraine after the revolution. It was also pointed out that we spent, the United States, $5 billion fomenting this revolution. Why did the revolution start? The revolution started because the the Russian-backed Ukraine government did not want to build closer ties with the EU, so they turned down the agreement. Some agreement, I forget the name of it. That's when we started funneling money, and you started seeing the revolution. Next thing you know, they get they go in there and they make it look like the government are a bunch of bad guys. They're only showing the revolution as being peaceful, and they're not. They were in there shooting. They were both doing horrible stuff to each other. So then they take over. You got a pro-Western government in there. I don't know if the guy's still in there. He's an IMF bankhead. just what we need in government, right? A lot of them now in the government are neo-Nazis, extremists. And that's the government we're pushing. Next thing you know, America's in there saying, oh, Russia's sending troops into Ukraine. No, there was an agreement, I think it was 96, basically setting up where the Russian government could have, I believe it was up to 26,000 troops in the Ukraine. But you never saw the United States mention that. Just point out that there's Russian troops in the Ukraine. Or how about Crimea? Crimea's been a part of Russia forever. It's Russian speaking. It's Russian culture. It's everything about it's Russian. Plus, they got their strategic Baltic port there, naval port. It went up for a vote. Maybe was the vote a sham? Maybe. Maybe the people genuinely wanted to go there. I think they did. I think they genuinely wanted to be part of Russian. They're Russian. Our culture is Russian. We've always been a part of Russia. Let's go. We want to go to Russia. But the United States built that up until it was a big takeover by the Russians of the Crimea region. Now, ever since then, it's escalated. It's gotten worse. You're seeing Russia do things they shouldn't be doing. The United States doing stuff we shouldn't do. The Europe doing stuff. NATO is using this as logic to put the troops up on the borders with Russia. Russia's not happy with this. So we keep taking action that's agitating Russia. In return, Russia's taking action that's agitating us. And now we are back in that whole Cold War stance. Russia doesn't want the dollar pegged with oil anymore. They basically do not want the dollar to be the reserve currency. China's alongside with them. China's agitating us. We're over there starting fights with China too. Now China's over what? I think they were, to be in U.S. waters, I think it's something like 9 miles or something like that over in Alaska when the president was there. They had their warships there, but they were only 10 miles offshore, so they were in international waters. I forget the specifics there. But it was to show their force and basically tell you guys, hey, don't mess with us. Do we really need a war with Russia or China? Now, most people would say, well, yeah, we could kick Russia's ass. We could kick China's ass. And we probably could if it was a conventional war. But guess what? It's not going to be conventional. It's going to be nuclear. Do you think Russia would let us kick their ass before they would drop nuclear bombs on us? Think about it. So what the president's trying to get us involved in here, I just don't know. I don't get it. It's not clicking. What are we thinking? What are we doing? What's our game plan? What's our exit plan? I don't know. That's the question there. Let's see. I'm running out of time. Let's talk about this last thing here, which is the cyber attacks. This is something I covered a lot during one of my shows, and hardly anyone knew about it. Basically, this article came out, it was USA Today, and they talked about how the Department of Energy stated that the computer systems of the Department of Energy computer systems, through an audit, were hacked 150 times from 2010 to 2014. And it was just a real consistent barrage of attempts to get in there. And out of all those cyber attacks, I believe 54 of them actually penetrated. They would not say if any data was lost. They made it seem like it wasn't a big deal, which you would expect. 19 is a successful attacks during the 4-year period. And one of the concerns I've had, and I've talked about a lot, and a lot of people just aren't aware of it, is the whole security around our grids, our electrical grid, our nuclear. I think when I was doing my show, we talked about how, and I showed a video of a guy, basically a reporter, went into the nuclear plant, Calvert Cliffs, back when I was in the Navy. It was right across the river there. And he basically drove right up to the front door within 500 feet of a reactor. And he did on 2 occasions, no guards. Now, I know when I was in the Navy, my wife worked there with Baltimore Gas and Electric. I couldn't even get on the place, and I was in the Navy. It was pretty secure, pretty controlled environment. Not so anymore. How easy would it take for one of these ISIS sleepers to come over and just launch some rockets at it, blow it up, and cause a whole meltdown? Talk about there was a plant, electric grid over in California. I think it was near San Diego. Somebody came in, just shot it all up the hell back. And it's like they knew they were doing it. They said the whole process, you could tell, was coordinated. The people knew what they were doing. And it basically shut down the grid. And then just after that, Mexico had it too, where they lost the grid. And they came out and said, well, 6 months later, they came out and said, yeah, our grids are exposed. We need to take security. We need to do something to get them under control. They're weak. They're susceptible to attacks from hackers, from individuals that are on the land coming in. And I think they said there's 9 different grids points that if they were to be taken out, we would lose electricity throughout the United States. Yet you're not hearing anything about stuff like that in the major media. Why? And I don't think they've done anything to it. I know when the guy put the report out, that was almost like a year ago. I have seen nothing. It's basically we've seen inaction on that issue, which should be concerning to everyone out there. All right. That's going to be it. Now, a couple things. Just remember, I'm not going to really advertise this, that I'm doing this at first. I think, like I said, something pops up on one of my Scoop pages telling them that there's a new show. I will do that, God, what is this thing called? Periscope. And it'll be live. It'll be raw footage, so you can see me doing it live, and you can ask questions if you want. Maybe I'll start that tomorrow. Who knows? Monday through Friday, I'll put it out, and that's essentially it. Just talking about issues that major media is not covering, some issues that major media is covering, and we'll take it from there. I'll have a lot more content, a lot more information, hopefully on the next show. All right, this has been Frankie Abbruzzino with the Scoop National News, the Uncensored Report, the Scoop, all that good stuff, and we'll see you later.